With the 6 mental guardrails, we call it your cognitive protection system, if you like. We start with 1, attention mastery, 2, truth discovery, 3, whole mind thinking, a conscious AI partnership, number 4, linguistic sovereignty, number 5, and wisdom discernment, number 6. So what I want to do now is move on to breaking these down to help us explore them in more detail. And I want to start with the attention mastery. The quality of our attention shapes our perception and how important that is. The ability to really consciously choose the quality of our attention in any situation or with any information. This one is Ian McGilchrist, a neuroscientist and psychiatrist, philosopher, and the author of great books, one of which is The Master and His Emissary. And you can find him online, but I would watch everything he does. So what he discovered during these 30 odd years in research was he revealed, if you like, that attention is generative. So what we attend to determines what becomes visible to us. So there's 2 modes that exist to understand this. One about attention, and he really believes that attention is one of the most important things, which is narrow focused attention sees parts. So think of it analytical. It sees the tools, the detail, the discrete objects, and it excels in manipulation and certainty. And he calls this side, the left hemisphere, as being the map, but it's the part, if you like, at the moment that is widely used, and therefore a lot of the cause of the problem. And broad open attention perceives relationship, right hand side, the brain, context and living wholes, so the whole. So it's not the parts, it's the whole. And the big word here is context. So I'm able, we're using more the right side of the brain to see the connection and the meaning, the collective, both essentials. So narrow attention shows the application of this, right? It is isolated problems requiring, say, technical, as it were, fixes. Whereas broad attention really does reveal, if we want to apply it, the interconnected systems requiring contextual wisdom. Now, the truth is we have to use both of those, and we unconsciously use both of those. The problem is we're using mostly the narrow. Just follow the money. Platforms, algorithms optimize for narrow attention because it's predictable and monetizable. So follow the money. And it's predictable, so I can measure it. So once I can measure that map, I'm on it. If I can't measure it, I'm not on it. If I can't make money out of it, I'm not on it. So if we then go to the development, so every one of these 6 has great news, i.e. all of these 6 are relatively straightforward to develop once we know how. So the second one is truth discovery. So this is distinguishing information from verified truth. Huge one at the moment. The ability for us to distinguish between information which connects people, i.e. virused information, whatever it may be, and truth, which has been verified or rigorously verified. And here we look at the research, amongst other people, of Harari's. So who you no doubt you guys are going to know Harari's work, but he is an incredible historian and philosopher from Israel, known on a global stage. Amazing. Information's primary function is a social coordination. So you look at social media and so forth, not accuracy. So shared stories don't have to be true to be effective. A key message. So what we do know is that messages spreading fictions, this is Harari's message, create strong emotional responses, and they enable group identity. They provide simple explanations to complex problems and vice versa. and they require little or no verification, usually no verification. So therein lies the problem. The application for this is most information is designed for connection or, virusing, not accuracy. Leaders who don't distinguish tend to make decisions based on comparing narratives rather than verified information. So capacity to pause before claiming, great news again, we can develop it. So whole mind thinking, we're back to Ian McGilchrist, my hero. Remember I said that the study was between the right and left hemisphere for the last 3.5 decades. The right hemisphere should be the master and should govern the overall understanding. It's the wise one. The left hemisphere is the emissary, should serve by handling details. It's the map. So, but what does happen, and this is the reality, is that the emissary is quite narcissistic, bless it, and it really wants to stage a coup. I'm right. The map's right. It's the narrow certainty feels reliable, and it feels more reliable in a way than the master's contextual humility. And, this explains why knowledgeable people many, many times make decisions based on, say, how they feel instead of engaging in wise decision making. So the application is leaders face wicked problems, so big, huge problems, complex problems, interconnected challenges, often, especially these complex problems with no clear solutions. And what's happening now, I like to say, is that there is a lot of talk around the internet. It's all good. I listen to a lot of it. I don't mean it's all good, but it's good that we can listen to these podcasts now and people sharing this information and their thoughts, but there's very little walk on that talk. They're both needed, but where is the walk? Where's the action? Where's the change? So these wicked problems that we all face and organizations face are not being addressed in the way they could be. So we're not focused on the solutions, but we're very focused on the problems. So narrow analytical thinking excels at solving technical, problems, but it fails spectacularly with complexity. Whole mind, they call it whole mind thinking, holds both precision and context at the same time. The goal is to understand when to use the map and when to use the whole mind thinking, like contextual, the whole view. And Harari describes AI as alien intelligence. And that's not because it's from another planet, but I think it's a really good description and label. It's so different that it's alien. And AI excels at pattern recognition and optimization, but operates fundamentally differently from human reasoning. And critical distinctions are AI answers the what, pattern that fits. Humans answer the why, but it's a lot more than that. And this means that human values and ethics, and this is why you're seeing philosophy, ethics, and all of these subjects that were like, why are you bothering with those before, are very important to the workplace now. And they're very, very important to leadership. So AI optimizes brilliantly for whatever metrics is given, but cannot determine why they matter to humans. And if we're not doing this for humans, then what are we doing it for? Every AI system optimizes someone's chosen metrics. As leaders, we must understand whose metrics are optimized for what purpose. So the question isn't whether to use AI and, whether it's good or bad, do we need to regulate it? It's very hard to regulate AI. It's very hard to regulate anything actually on a big scale. Moving at exponential change. So what we have to do is fix our way of thinking. So how do we partner with AI in the right way that benefits us, the business, the world? And we can do that, but we have to understand that we have to change and improve and up the level of how we think as humans at the level that the AI can't do it. So in other words, these human-centric skills, much higher order thinking skills, emotional intelligence, ethics, and so forth, the list could go on. They are absolutely critical, because at the moment, and I'd like to think forever, the AI does not have most of these. So the capacity to interrogate AI recommendations, systematically understand optimization targets, and maintain human judgment over decision making. Again, we go back to ethics and so forth, and meaning and purpose. But we do need those things now in Industry 5.0. So we're moving on to linguistic sovereignty. That's a posh name for understanding language's role in constructing reality. The ability to recognize how language constructs reality and to choose words consciously rather than adopting frames unconsciously. So Rory Sutherland, who better? And again, he's all over the internet, but I've been watching Rory's stuff for about 15 years. He's great, and he's funny and engaging and hilarious, actually. So highly recommended. So he's big into framing language and a lot more than that, but just go on this for now. The language we use fundamentally shapes our perception and response. Nothing particularly new there, but different words from the same thing create different psychological realities for us. That's just a fact. So this becomes really important for us to understand, especially as leaders. So when we adopt jargon or cultural terminology, we import someone else's worldview, and that may or may not be good. Right now, it seems it's not good. So we need to be in charge of our framing. So leaders constantly make frames, choices, we all do, through language. So human resources creates different perceptions than people. For example, he uses this analogy. Disruption frames change differently than evolution. So you get the point. It's how we frame, but this is on a sort of mass scalable reframing that is required, and us to consciously be aware of how we're being framed. And once we have this capability and develop it, we're home and dry, happy days. So most framing, it's true to say, happens through borrowed language. In other words, you're either doing the thinking for yourself or someone else is doing the thinking for you. So as leaders, what we need to do is stop thinking for people and start help developing them to think for themselves. Industry 5.0. Why? Because in exponential change, we don't have time to think for others. If we're trying to lead them to thrive and change, we need to be learning and changing at the same time. So the development in terms of this, great news, is noticing, again, mindset, awareness, habit, much more than it is a skill. But, we could argue these words anyway. That's a bit of framing, isn't it? So in other words, can it be developed? It can absolutely be developed. Wisdom discernment. Evaluating advice through consequences, not credentials. Someone's got credibility and therefore I trust them. Nassim Taleb's skin in the game. The skin in the game signals alignment. The advisor shares in the success or failure. So what we can do is we can ask, for example, what's their skin in the game here? And if there isn't, I might like to dive deeper and check things out for myself. So you see, a lot of these guardrails are much, much more about us changing our own thinking than they are relying on outside forces, if you like, being able to regulate for us, because the truth is it probably isn't going to happen, and certainly not at the speed we need it to happen.